Hello guys, this is your Uncle Big Fish, and on this video I would like to start all of this with a question. What makes a class broken? What's the best class? See, a lot of people have been asking me these questions, and as annoying as it is for me, these are the two questions that I have received from hundreds, if not thousands of people since the inception of my channel. And to be honest with you guys, I haven't answered any of them, because the answer to that, the objective, most honest answer to that is, depends. A lot of things like your CP group, what CP group you are more likely to fight against, what the card meta classes are, what imprints you are using, what mode are you playing on. All of these play a significant role in determining what is broken and what is not. But answering that is not what this video is all about. So today, I will enlighten you with the most basic knowledge to understand about what makes a class strong. And I will do this for both field and arenas. This video is, however, just gonna be for field, and if this video gets more than 3,000 views, I'll promise you I'll make the arena version of it. I hope that you guys don't skip anything, because it is by my own experience that knowing only tiny bits of things without getting a complete picture often makes something wrong, and is often worse than not knowing anything. To begin, I'll use these three terms to explain a couple phenomenon in this game. So please read through it so you know what's up. If you're a new player or a relative beginner into the game, I have a basic PvP guide and an advanced PvP guide video to get you up to speed with the most basic fundamentals that you need to know in Black Desert Mobile. You may go and watch those videos first if you haven't already, since I will be using a lot of those terms from those videos that I won't be repeating again on this one. Without further ado, let's continue with the video. In field PvP, there are three fundamental class archetypes, and another two hybrid, unspecialized archetypes that isn't weak nor good against the other three. Those are a lot more neutral in terms of the class matchups. Three of the basic archetypes is better suited against one and weaker against the other. They are Kite, Bulwark, and Bulldozer, with the other ones being Unspecialized Hybrid and Ambush. It is all decided by a class's kit and its type of stab. So, first one will be Kiters. What they do is they hit from a distance, they disengage, and they repeat. Pretty much playing with a very kitey playstyle where they would chip down enemies slowly from a distance, disengage, and repeat. These classes tend to have good short distance mobility cooldowns and often has lower continuous DPS. With an additional, usually they're very soft to balance things out. For example, we can put this as Raven or the Buccaneer. These two pretty much play the role of a kiter. The second one will be a Bulwark. This one will be a more defensive, class. They're usually very bulky. They have a big stab damage on their stationary skills. So the thing is, these classes don't have a lot of forward momentum, but most of their damage comes from stationary skills. And although their mobility skills have low base power, they can trade very well. And they mostly tend to be extremely tanky classes, but has near to no punishing forward momentum. I think, believe it or not, the Berserker, as aggressive as the name sounds and the class nature is, it's actually a Bulwark, not a Bulldozer. As his stabs are all stationary skills that has near to no movement, while his mobility skills, though being fast, has low base power. A good example for this will be the Berserker's Reckoning, which doesn't really move a lot of distance, but deals a lot of damage while being stationary, whilst his Havoc Thrust and Berserker Charge, being his two mobility skills, deal very low damage. So these classes tend to be very strong when an enemy reaches inside their radius of threat, or into their range and reach. They're a lot more good at being defensive, and their damage comes from an enemy being too close to their proximity and not disengaging. The third and last one will be the Bulldozer. Now this one is a very full aggro class with an amazing forward momentum and high damage stab on their mobility skills. Their damage burst is however usually lower than a Bulwark, making them unable to trade effectively with a Bulwark within the threat radius of Bulwarks. These classes, however, threaten a lot of escapists, and they're a lot more capable of dealing constant pressure. A good example is the Grandmaster. A lot of people tend to think that a Grandmaster is a very defensive class, and as true as it is for arenas, GM is actually a Bulldozer in field, as his two main stabs, being Hell Sweep and Energy Vacuum, are both very high damage stab skills with mobility, allowing him to chase and deal damage while constantly applying pressure on the enemy. And finally, the last two kinds of the sub-archetypes were the Unspecialized Hybrid and the Ambush. Let's start with the very first one. The Ambush class will always go for a very weird playstyle. They usually ambush someone, hence the name, from invisible or other types of sub-abilities. Ambush classes goes invisible or out of reach and ambush an enemy, usually starting from a full combo. They cannot be put into 3 different archetypes, into the basic ones, as they don't really have the kit to kite, so they cannot be a kiter. They are not bulky enough, so they don't have the characteristics of a Bulwark. And also they don't have enough base power to outtrade, with an additional lack of any form of punishing forward momentum. So they don't really fit into the 3 archetypes that we have listed above. These classes tend to be very good at playing in the shadows, ambush, deal full combo, and disengage into the next target. The good example for these classes are the Sura and the Kunoichi. And finally, the last one, being hybrid, is a mix of 2 or more different archetypes, but excels at neither of them. A good example for this will be the Void Knight. It's a mix of both the qualities of a Bulldozer and a Bulwark, but they don't have the insane trading power of a Bulwark, nor the punishing pressure of a Bulldozer. Instead, it's more of a hybrid escapist that excels in hit and run. In hindsight, Bulldozers are weak to Bulwark classes, as Bulwark classes tend to have a higher damage output in their field of reach. Bulwarks are weak to Kite, as they do not have a lot of methods to deal punishing damage on a mobile target. And Kiters are weak to Bulldozers, as Kiters tend to have low continuous damage, thus being constantly pressured does not allow them to reset aggro and disengage, causing them to pretty much go dry and just get chipped down by Bulldozers. This is, however, just speculation of how classes work in MMORPG games, And a broken class is a class that bypasses the limitations of such archetypes due to either superior passive stats or sub-qualities like having too much iframes, and or, on some cases, having the potential qualities of 2 or more different archetypes, thus lacking any form of weakness that can be exploited to outplay it. These archetypes may differ for the same class on arenas, and I will explain more about this on the sequel of this video, should it happens in the near future. Now, let's talk about stats that matter. In field, CC and immunities don't really matter, as every class pretty much has perfect immunity rotation and most likely won't ever get CC'd. So let's talk about stats that actually matter for field PvP instead. The first one will be stab count, or trading power. Number of skills that has upwards of 2.5k% base power, or a class of skill that deals considerably more damage than its other skills. Most classes has usually 2 or 3. For example, the Berserker Stabs or Reckoning with 1 charge, and Vicious Rend with 2 charges. In conclusion, more stabs equal more damaging skills equals more profitable trading equals enemy die faster. The second one will be mobility rotation. Mobility rotation and mobility count is not the same. A good mobility rotation allows a more constant movement, while a good mobility count might not have a good rotation, depending on the cooldown and the duration of each skills. A good mobility rotation enables you or a class to escape or pursue an enemy easier. Mobile classes tend to be better suited for an aggressive playstyle, because the defensive playstyle don't really require a lot of mobility. With that being said, a lot of mobility is always a good thing, especially in BDM. Next, let's talk about coverage. Coverage is essentially protection from multiple sub-abilities. The first one being anti-grab, which protects you against grabs. Second one being forward guard break, which bypasses forward guard. This in particular is a very strong tool, especially for a whale, not really a good tool for a low B. Because the only way that a low B can outplay a whale is either through forward guard or through invincible. Next one will be grab. A grab is literally a type of CC that pierces through 89% of all skills, regardless of the immunity that lies behind it, may it be forward guard or super armor. The next one will be called purge or debuff immunity. It's basically a sub-ability that nullifies debuffs or purges status elements. The next one will be called invincible. Invincible or iframes are the single most broken thing in field PvP, as it nullifies damage, CC, and debuffs, while as well ignoring coverage altogether. Classes with overabundance of this are often broken when paired with an amazing skill kit, and I think throughout BDM history, it is often a class with too much invincible frames that becomes unstoppably broken. For example, the Archmage era, the Destroyer era, and up to this day, the only one that still remained, the Raven. This is also the reason why Raven is the single most broken field PvP class in the game, and by a dumb margin, like nothing even comes close. The next one will be called sustain, or heals. Healing or sustain allows one to reset or attempt comebacks. This in particular makes one harder to take down, which also allows you to get away from making multiple mistakes. Sustain is a very powerful tool that has been grossly underestimated. This is however limited for high CP players, as low CPs don't benefit from this at all, because there is absolutely no way to recover damage fast enough when you're two-shotted or one-shotted. There are so many reasons that contribute into making a class broken, not just a few. So what's the best class in the game? What's the best class for you? Well, I'm not the right person to judge that. So, with the knowledge I've shared today, I'll leave it up to you guys to decide for yourself. All in all, play what you guys like. Enjoy the game the way you want. Because to me, that will always take the top priority. I hope you guys learned something today. Enjoy BDM, enjoy the videos on the channel. This is your Uncle Big Fish, and I'll see you guys again on the next one. See you.